I pulled my phone from my pocket and opened the group chat before the hotel room door even fully closed behind me. Jake slept with Emily last night. We're done. Both of them. My thumb hovered over the send button for maybe half a second before I pressed it. The message delivered to our entire friend group, 15 people who'd known the three of us since college. I didn't wait to see the responses start flooding in. I was already blocking Emily's number, then Jake's, watching their contact names disappear from my phone like they'd never existed at all. The party had been at Derek's lake house, one of those end-of-summer gatherings we'd been doing for 6 years running. Emily and I had been together for 3 of those years. Jake had been my best friend for 8. Past tense on both counts now. I'd left the party early, around 11, because I had a client presentation Monday morning. Emily said she'd catch a ride back with Jake since he was staying at the lake house too, and would head back to the city in the morning. I thought nothing of it. Why would I? Jake was my best friend. I'd trusted him with everything. The presentation got canceled at 6 in the morning. Client's CEO had a family emergency. I decided to drive back to the lake house, surprise Emily with breakfast, maybe spend the day on the water after all. I got there at 7:30. Jake's truck was still in the driveway. Emily's shoes were outside his bedroom door. I didn't knock, didn't make a scene. I walked back to my car, sat in the driver's seat, and made my decision in the time it took me to fasten my seatbelt. Then I drove back to the city, went to my apartment, and sent that message. My phone started ringing within minutes. Derek first, then others. I declined every call. Text messages poured in, confusion, shock, demands for explanation. I ignored them all except to send one more message to the group. I'm not discussing it. I'm not justifying it. It happened. I saw evidence. I'm moving on. Don't contact me about them. Then I muted the group chat. The individual messages came next. My phone buzzed constantly for the next hour. I sat on my couch, made coffee, and started going through my apartment methodically. Emily had a drawer in my dresser, a toothbrush in my bathroom, a favorite mug in my kitchen. I gathered everything into a cardboard box. Her spare key went in too. I'd have someone return it all to her later. I wasn't interested in a face-to-face. There was more than I'd initially thought. A yoga mat behind my bedroom door. Her favorite hoodie, actually my hoodie that she'd claimed months ago, hanging in my closet. Half a dozen books on my shelves, her name written in neat script on the inside covers. A drawer in my bathroom with her makeup, hair products, the expensive face cream she'd spent 20 minutes explaining the benefits of when she first bought it. I'd listened and nodded, just happy she felt comfortable enough to keep her things here. That memory didn't hurt. It was just a fact now, something that had happened to a different version of me. I packed it all. The box became 2 boxes, then 3. 3 years of gradually intertwining lives, separated back out in under an hour. Around 9, my door buzzed. The intercom showed Emily, her hair messy, still in yesterday's clothes, looking panicked. I didn't answer it. She buzzed again, and again. Then my phone rang, her number, but I'd forgotten I'd blocked her, so it didn't go through on her end. She was probably staring at a screen that wouldn't connect, confused why I wasn't answering. Good. I watched her through the intercom camera. She was crying now, pressing the buzzer repeatedly, looking up at the camera. Her mouth was moving. She was probably saying my name, maybe apologizing, maybe trying to explain. I turned the intercom volume down so I wouldn't hear it. After 10 minutes, she left. I watched her pull out her phone, presumably to call someone else. Probably Jake. Maybe one of the others. Didn't matter to me. My brother Nathan called around 10. I answered that one. "What the hell happened?" he asked, no preamble. Exactly what I said happened. "You want to talk about it?" "No." "You need anything?" "No." "All right. I'm here if that changes. Thanks. We hung up. Nathan was good like that. He understood boundaries, understood when someone needed space versus when they needed intervention. This was clearly the former. He'd been through his own messy breakup 2 years ago, had gone radio silent for 3 weeks while he processed it. I'd given him that space then. He was returning the favor now. By noon, the mutual friends had started taking sides in the group chat I'd unmuted just to observe. I didn't participate, just watched the messages scroll by. Some people were defending Emily and Jake, saying I should at least hear them out, that I was being rash, that maybe I'd misunderstood what I saw. Others were firmly on my side, calling the betrayal what it was. Brandon wrote, "Liam doesn't make rash decisions. If he says he saw something, he saw something." Ashley countered, "But he didn't even talk to them. He just assumed and cut them off. That's not fair." Connor responded, "If your girlfriend's shoes are outside your best friend's bedroom at 7:30 in the morning, what exactly needs clarification?" The chat devolved from there. I muted it again. Rachel, Emily's childhood friend, sent me a private message. "Emily is hysterical. She says it's not what you think. Please just talk to her." I typed back, "Her shoes were outside his bedroom door at 7:30 in the morning. They were both inside. I don't need to hear an explanation." Maybe they just fell asleep talking. In his bedroom, with the door closed, after a party where alcohol was involved. Rachel, I'm not an idiot. She didn't respond after that. The day stretched on. I organized my apartment, did laundry, meal prepped for the week. Normal Sunday activities. Except Emily wasn't there, sprawled on my couch watching true crime documentaries, wasn't there stealing bites of whatever I was cooking, wasn't there at all. I didn't miss it. Or rather, I recognized the absence, but didn't let myself attach emotion to it. Missing her meant wanting her back. I didn't want her back. Derek called me around 2. I answered because it was his house, his party, and I figured I owed him that much. "Liam, man, everyone's losing their minds here. Emily and Jake are both saying nothing happened, that you've got it wrong." "Did you see them this morning?" "No, I was asleep until people started blowing up my phone. They're both here now, both saying the same thing. She was drunk, crashed in his room because it was closest, nothing happened." "Then why were her shoes outside the door?" Silence. "What?" "Her shoes, Derek. They were outside his bedroom door, not inside, where they'd be if she'd stumbled in drunk and passed out. Outside, placed neatly, side by side." I don't know what that means." "It means someone removed them before going in. It means this was intentional, not some drunken accident. People don't carefully place their shoes outside a door they're drunkenly stumbling through." More silence. Then, "Shit." "Yeah." "Did you tell them you noticed that?" "No. And I'm not going to. I don't owe them a detailed explanation of my evidence." "They want to talk to you." "I don't want to talk to them. Derek, I appreciate the years of friendship, but I'm not justifying my decisions to anyone. They know what they did. I know what they did. That's sufficient." "Jake is insisting nothing happened. He says Emily was drunk and upset about something, came to talk to him, fell asleep on his floor. He says he slept in the chair across the room." "Okay? That's it? Just okay?" "Derek, even if that's exactly what happened, and I don't believe it is, she still chose to seek comfort from my best friend in his bedroom at a party instead of calling me, instead of finding you or any of the girls. That judgment call alone is a deal breaker." "That seems harsh." "That's boundaries. I'm allowed to have them." Derek sighed. "All right. I'll let them know you're not interested in talking. For what it's worth, if it did happen, that's messed up." "It did happen." We ended the call. I spent the afternoon at the gym, pushing myself harder than usual. The physical exertion felt good, kept my mind focused on something concrete, Reps, sets, weights, numbers and goals, things that made sense. Jake tried a different approach around 4. He showed up at my apartment building, but the doorman, bless him, called up first. "Mr. Brennan, there's a Jake Peterson here to see you." "I'm not accepting visitors from Mr. Peterson. If he refuses to leave, please have building security escort him out." "Understood, sir." Through my window, I watched Jake leave the building 5 minutes later, his shoulders slumped, head down. Part of me, a very small part, felt bad. We'd been friends for 8 years. That meant something. But it didn't mean more than my self-respect. He tried to follow up by having Derek pass along a message. He needed to explain the situation. I had Derek tell him there was nothing to explain. Derek, to his credit, stopped pushing after that. The week crawled by. I went to work, performed my job competently, came home, went to the gym, cooked dinner, read, slept. My routine remained undisturbed except for the notable absence of Emily's texts, our dinner plans, weekend mornings together. Work was a blessing. The canceled presentation got rescheduled, and I threw myself into preparation. My colleague Jennifer noticed I was staying later than usual. "Everything okay?" she asked Thursday afternoon. "Break up," I said simply. "Ah, the reason you're suddenly married to your desk?" "Something like that." "Well, the deck looks great. Best work I've seen from you." I nodded. It was good work. Focused work. Work uninterrupted by texts from Emily about dinner plans or weekend trips. Several friends reached out individually throughout the week, trying to feel out where I stood, whether I was open to hearing the full story. I gave them all the same response. I'd seen what I needed to see. I'd made my decision. I wasn't revisiting it. Brandon met me for lunch on Wednesday. He'd been in my corner from the start, had actually commented in the group chat that my response was clean and decisive. "How are you actually doing?" he asked over sandwiches. "Fine." "Liam." "I'm fine, Brandon. I'm not in denial. I'm not suppressing emotion. I saw what happened. I processed it. I acted. I'm genuinely fine." Most people would be a mess. Most people drag things out. They have the big confrontation. They listen to the excuses. They give second chances. All that does is prolong the pain. I chose differently. By cutting them out immediately. Exactly. Brandon shook his head slowly. "I don't know if that's healthy or the healthiest thing I've ever seen. It's effective. That's all I need it to be." By Friday, the friend group had effectively split. 7 people sided with me, or at least respected my decision to cut contact. 5 sided with Emily and Jake, believing them that nothing had happened, or that I should at least allow them to explain. 3 were trying to remain neutral, which I respected, but also meant I'd be keeping them at arm's length. You couldn't be neutral about betrayal. You either understood why I did what I did, or you didn't. Emily's stuff was still in boxes by my door. I had my assistant arrange for a courier to deliver it to her apartment the following Monday. I included no note. What would I even say? The boxes were message enough. The weekend came, my first weekend truly alone in 3 years. I'd been alone plenty of times. Emily traveled for work, visited family, had girls gozo, weekends. But this was different. This was permanent alone. I cleaned my apartment thoroughly, reorganizing everything now that her things were gone. The empty drawer in my dresser, I filled with workout clothes. The bathroom drawer that had held her products became my grooming station. The space on my bookshelf where her books had been, I filled with novels I'd been meaning to read. I was erasing her, efficiently and completely. Saturday night, I ordered takeout and watched a movie I'd wanted to see that Emily had no interest in. It was a small thing, but it felt significant. A reminder that I could make choices based solely on my preferences now. Sunday, I went for a long run, cooked an elaborate dinner just for myself, and video called Nathan. "You doing all right?" he asked. "Yeah. Honestly, yeah." "No regrets about how you handled it?" "None." "Not even curious what they'd say if you let them explain?" "Not even a little." "Nathan, I know what I saw. Anything they'd tell me would just be spin, trying to make it sound less bad than it was. I'm not interested in their version of events." "Fair enough." He paused. "Mom called me. She's worried about you." I groaned. "How does she even know?" "Ashley told her cousin, who told Mom." "Great. You should call her. You know how she gets." I did call her later that night. Got the expected maternal concern, the questions about whether I was eating enough, sleeping enough, taking care of myself. I assured her I was fine. She didn't quite believe me, but she let it go. 2 weeks after the party, my friend Connor invited me to drinks. Connor had been firmly in my corner from the start, had actually removed both Emily and Jake from his own social media after the incident. We met at a bar downtown, away from our usual spots. "You're handling this weirdly well," Connor observed after we'd ordered. "What's the alternative?" "Most people would be angry, confrontational, demanding answers." I got my answer when I saw her shoes outside his door. "You really didn't go in? Didn't verify?" "Didn't need to. The picture was clear enough." Connor took a long drink of his beer. "People are saying you're cold, that you didn't even give them a chance to explain." "Do you think I'm cold?" "I think you know what you saw and you reacted accordingly. I respect that. But I'll be honest, some people think you went nuclear too fast." "Connor, let me ask you something. If you saw your girlfriend's shoes outside your best friend's bedroom at dawn after a party, would you need more evidence?" "Probably not." "Then I didn't go nuclear too fast. I went nuclear at exactly the right speed." He laughed. "That's fair. Emily's been telling people she was drunk, passed out on Jake's floor, that nothing happened, that you jumped to conclusions." "Her shoes were outside the door, Connor. Not inside where she'd have taken them off if she'd passed out. Outside. Like someone had removed them before entering. And they were neatly placed, side by side, not kicked off haphazardly." Connor's eyes widened slightly. "You didn't mention that detail to anyone else." "I didn't need to. The core facts were sufficient." "But that's pretty damning. That's not how you leave shoes if you're stumbling drunk into a room to pass out." "Correct." "Have you told anyone else that?" "Just you, Derek, and Rachel. And I won't be broadcasting it. I don't need to justify myself. The people who believe me, believe me. The ones who don't, I don't need in my life anyway." Connor nodded slowly. "That's fair. Cold, maybe. But fair." We spent the rest of the evening talking about other things. His new job, my project at work, sports, politics, anything but Emily and Jake. It felt normal. Good, like I was already moving past it. But that night, alone in my apartment, I let myself feel it for the first time. Not the betrayal. I'd processed that in the car ride back from the lake house, in the immediate decisive action I'd taken. What I felt was loss. Not of Emily specifically, but of the future I'd thought we were building. Not of Jake specifically, but of the friendship I'd valued. We'd had plans. Emily and I had talked about moving in together next year, maybe getting engaged the year after. Jake was supposed to be my best man when that happened. We'd joked about it, how he'd give some embarrassing speech about our college days. All of that was gone now. Vanished in the space between seeing those shoes and starting my car. I let myself sit with that feeling for exactly 1 hour. Set a timer on my phone and everything. When it went off, I stood up, washed my face, and went to bed. Grief had its moment. Now it was done. A month after the incident, Jake tried one more time. He sent a letter to my apartment. Actual paper, envelope, stamp. I recognized his handwriting on the front. I held it for a moment, weighing whether to open it. Curiosity tugged at me. What could he possibly say? What excuse or explanation or apology could he have crafted that would make a difference? I threw it away without opening it. If he wanted forgiveness, he could want. If he wanted understanding, he could find it elsewhere. I'd given him 8 years of friendship. He'd traded it for one night with my girlfriend. That was his choice to live with, not my burden to absolve. Emily tried through Rachel again. Rachel called me, asked if we could meet for coffee. I agreed, mostly because I'd always liked Rachel and didn't want collateral damage to decent people. We met at a coffee shop near her office on a Tuesday afternoon. "Emily's a wreck," Rachel started, not even waiting until we'd sat down. "She's been crying every day. She lost half her friend group. She says you won't even let her explain." "I don't need her explanation." "Liam, nothing happened. She swears nothing happened. She was drunk, she went to crash in Jake's room because it was closest. She passed out on his floor. That's it." "Okay." Rachel blinked. "Okay, that's it? If that's her version of events, okay. It doesn't change anything." "How can you say that? If nothing happened..." "Rachel, even in her best-case scenario, she got drunk at a party, decided to sleep in my best friend's bedroom instead of finding literally anyone else or calling me to come back, and didn't think that was a problem. That judgment alone is a deal-breaker." "That's not fair." "It's completely fair. I'm allowed to have standards for how my partner conducts themselves. She crossed a line, whether or not anything physical happened. So you're saying even if she's telling the truth, you'd still end it?" "Yes." Rachel stared at me like I'd grown a second head. "That's insane." "That's boundaries. I don't owe anyone a relationship. The moment I lose trust, the moment I'm uncomfortable with someone's choices, I'm allowed to walk away. That's exactly what I did." "You didn't even give her a chance." "I gave her 3 years of chances to be someone I could trust. She used one of them to sleep in my best friend's bedroom after a party. Whether they had sex or not is irrelevant to the fact that she thought that was acceptable. It's not acceptable to me." Rachel's face reddened. "She made one mistake. One. And you're throwing away 3 years over it. She made a choice that demonstrated either infidelity or catastrophically poor judgment. Either way, I'm done. Rachel, I appreciate you caring about your friend, but my decision is final." "She loves you. Then she should have acted like it." Rachel stood up, coffee untouched. "You're going to regret this. When you calm down and realize you threw away something real over a misunderstanding, you're going to regret it." "Maybe," I said, though I didn't believe it. "But that's my regret to have." She left. I finished my coffee alone, watching people pass by the window. Couples holding hands, friends laughing together, the ordinary flow of life continuing around my personal drama. I didn't feel cold. I didn't feel harsh. I felt clear. 3 months out, the dust had settled into a new normal. My friend group was permanently split, but I'd made peace with that. The people who remained in my life were the ones who respected my boundaries and my decisions. That was worth more than a larger group that expected me to compromise my standards. I'd started dating again, nothing serious, just reminders that there were other people in the world. A woman named Victoria I'd met at a work conference, smart and funny, with zero connection to my previous life. We went out twice, had pleasant conversations, and mutually decided we weren't looking for the same things. No drama, no hard feelings. Then there was Amanda, a friend of Connor's girlfriend. We went to dinner, saw a movie, talked until midnight at a coffee shop that was closing. She was interesting, interested, and uncomplicated. We dated casually for a few weeks before. She got a job offer in Seattle and moved. We kept in touch sporadically. The dating itself wasn't important. What mattered was proving to myself that life continued, that options existed, that Emily hadn't been some irreplaceable fixture in my existence. I'd also picked up rock climbing, something I'd always wanted to try, but Emily had never been interested in. Turned out I was decent at it. The problem-solving aspect appealed to me, figuring out routes, testing holds, the physical and mental challenge combined. I went twice a week, sometimes with Connor, sometimes alone. I'd reconnected with some college friends who'd drifted away during my relationship with Emily. Tom, who'd moved back to the city last year, but I'd been too coupled up to really hang out with. Lisa, who I'd been close with sophomore year, but lost touch with when our social circles diverged. They slotted back into my life easily, reminding me that friendship could be simple when you weren't navigating complicated dynamics. Life was different, but it was good. Jake tried to approach me at a mutual friend's wedding in November. I was there as a groomsman for my college roommate, David. Jake was a regular guest. When I saw him walking toward me during the cocktail hour, I simply turned and walked in the other direction. He didn't follow. David asked me about it later. "You and Jake okay?" "No." "Want to talk about it?" "Already handled." He nodded and didn't push. David was good like that. I saw Jake once more that evening, across the reception hall during dinner. He was sitting with some people I vaguely recognized, looking uncomfortable. Our eyes met briefly. He looked like he wanted to say something. I looked away and struck up a conversation with the person next to me about their recent trip to Japan. Emily, I never saw again. Our social circles had separated cleanly enough that our paths simply didn't cross. I heard through the grapevine that she and Jake had actually started dating a few months after the incident. Brandon told me over lunch one day in December. Apparently, they've been together since October. Thought you should know. I absorbed this information with the emotional impact of hearing about the weather. Okay. That's it? Just okay? What else is there to say? It confirms what I already knew. Which is? That something was there between them, whether it was acted on that night or not. If nothing had happened and there was no attraction, they wouldn't have gotten together after. But doesn't that make you angry? Like they've validated your worst assumptions? No. It makes me satisfied I made the right call. I saw the beginning of something, and I got out before it fully developed. I spared myself months or years of being in a relationship with someone whose attention was elsewhere. Brandon shook his head. I don't know how you do it, man. Most people would be furious. Fury would mean I still cared. I don't. They can do whatever they want. It's not my concern anymore. And I meant it. The vindication felt hollow because it wasn't really vindication. It was just information. Confirmation of a decision I'd already made and moved past. The holidays came. My first without Emily in 3 years. I spent Thanksgiving with Nathan and his wife, helped them cook, played with their kids, felt grateful for family that understood boundaries. Christmas was with my parents, fielding the occasional concerned look from my mother, but mostly just enjoying the normalcy of family tradition. New Year's Eve, Connor threw a party. Small, just close friends. I went, had a good time, kissed a woman I'd been seeing casually at midnight, and felt fine. Not empty, not sad, not angry, just fine. A year after the party, Derek hosted another end-of-summer gathering at his lake house. Smaller this time, just the people who'd remained close after the split. I almost didn't go, but Connor convinced me it would be good closure. Face the scene of the crime? I joked. More like reclaim it. Show yourself it's just a place. Good memories exist there too. He was right. I went. Walking into Derek's lake house felt strange at first. The last time I'd been here, I'd been in a relationship, had a best friend, had a different life. Now I was returning as someone else entirely. But the strangeness faded quickly. Brandon was there, and Connor, and Tom, and others. We grilled burgers, went out on the boat, played cards on the deck as the sun set. It was good. Easy. Uncomplicated. On the dock that evening, beer in hand, Derek approached me. "You ever regret how you handled it?" he asked. I thought about it for a genuine moment. No. No anger? No wanting to hear their side? Derek, I made a decision based on what I saw and what I knew about boundaries and respect. Whether they slept together or just made a series of terrible decisions that led to her shoes being outside his bedroom door at dawn, the result is the same. I don't trust people who cross those lines. Life's too short to spend it with people I don't trust. That's fair. He took a sip of his beer. For what it's worth, they did start dating. About 2 months after everything went down. Still together now, apparently. I heard. Doesn't that make you angry? Like, if nothing happened, why would they get together? It makes me satisfied that I made the right call. If something did happen, I avoided being with someone who'd betray me. If nothing happened, but they clearly had enough of a connection to eventually date, I still avoided being with someone who was emotionally connecting with my best friend behind my back. Either way, I won. Derek laughed. You're a cold son of a bitch, you know that? I'm a decisive son of a bitch. There's a difference. Fair enough. He clinked his beer bottle against mine. Well, for what it's worth, I respect how you handled it. No drama, no big blow-up, just clean decisions and consequences. That's all it ever needed to be. Later that night, sitting on the dock with Connor and a few others, someone asked me if I'd learned anything from the whole experience. Yeah, I said. I learned that trust, once broken, isn't worth repairing. I learned that explanations are often just excuses. And I learned that the fastest way to move on from betrayal is to simply move on. No lingering, no processing with the people who hurt you. No giving them space in your head rent-free. That's harsh, Tom said. Maybe. But I haven't spent a single day of the past year agonizing over what happened. I made a decision, acted on it, and kept living my life. How many people can say that after a betrayal like that? No one had an answer. The truth was, I didn't feel cold or harsh. I felt free. Free from people who didn't respect me enough to maintain basic boundaries. Free from the obligation to justify my standards to anyone. Free from the exhausting work of rebuilding trust with people who'd demonstrated they weren't trustworthy. I'd chosen myself, immediately and completely. And I'd never regretted it for a second. 18 months after the incident, I met someone. Her name was Nicole. We met at a friend's art gallery opening, started talking about the paintings, ended up getting dinner. She was different from Emily in every way that mattered. Direct, honest, respectful of boundaries. On our 4th date, she asked about my last relationship. It ended, I said. She crossed a line. I walked away immediately. What kind of line? The kind that showed me she wasn't who I thought she was. Nicole nodded. And you didn't try to work it out? No. Some things aren't worth working out. That must have been hard. It was simple, actually. The hardest part was other people wanting me to make it complicated. She smiled. I like that. I like that you know your boundaries and you keep them. You're the first person who's said that without following it with but. No buts. Life's too short to spend it with people who don't respect you. That's when I knew Nicole was different. 2 years later, I was engaged to her. When I told her the full story of Emily and Jake, she didn't say I'd been too harsh. She said I'd been clear about my standards, and that clarity was what had attracted her to me in the first place. You don't waste time on people who don't deserve it, she said. That's rare. Maybe it was rare, but it was also simple. Life presented me with a clear betrayal. I responded with clear action. No ambiguity, no prolonged suffering, no false hope that things could be repaired. I saw the evidence. I made the call. I moved on. Everything else was just noise. I ran into Emily once, 3 years after the party, completely by accident at a coffee shop downtown. She was with Jake. They were holding hands. We made eye contact. She looked startled, then guilty, then defiant in quick succession. Jake looked uncomfortable, started to steer her toward the door. Liam, she said. Just my name. Emily, I responded. Polite, neutral. She opened her mouth like she wanted to say more. Jake tugged gently on her hand. She looked at him, then back at me, then followed Jake out. The whole interaction lasted maybe 10 seconds. Nicole, who I was meeting there, arrived 2 minutes later. You okay? She asked, reading something in my expression. Yeah, just saw Emily and Jake. How do you feel? Nothing, I said, and realized it was true. I feel nothing. She kissed my cheek. Good. And it was good. The absence of feeling wasn't emptiness, it was peace. They were strangers now, people I used to know, relevant to my past, but not my present. Years later, when I thought about that morning at the lake house, I didn't think about Emily or Jake. I thought about the moment in my car when I'd fastened my seatbelt and made the decision to cut them out completely. That moment of clarity, of knowing exactly what I needed to do and doing it without hesitation. That was the moment I'd chosen the life I wanted. Everything good that came after stemmed from that single decision. I'd pulled out my phone and sent that message. I'd blocked their numbers. I'd gathered her things and sent them back. I'd refused every attempt at explanation or reconciliation, not because I was cold, not because I was harsh, but because I knew my worth, and I refused to negotiate it with people who demonstrated they didn't value it. The party ended. She slept with my best friend. She expected silence, maybe even forgiveness eventually. I told everyone and cut them both off. And I never looked back, because some betrayals don't deserve a second chance. They deserve a clean ending and a better beginning. I gave myself both. My wedding was 2 years after that coffee shop encounter. Small ceremony, close friends and family only. Nathan was my best man. Connor and Brandon were groomsmen. None of the old friend group who'd sided with Emily and Jake were invited. I didn't miss them. Standing at the altar, watching Nicole walk down the aisle, I felt grateful. Not just for her, though she was extraordinary, but for that moment 5 years ago when I'd chosen myself, when I'd refused to compromise my standards, refused to accept less than I deserved. That decision had led me here, to this moment, to this woman, to this life. During our vows, Nicole said something that made me smile. You taught me that love isn't just about staying. Sometimes it's about knowing when to walk away from what doesn't serve you so you can find what does. The reception was perfect. Dancing, laughter, toasts that didn't mention ex-girlfriends or former best friends. Just celebration of what was, not mourning of what wasn't. Late that night, after most guests had left, Connor found me on the venue's terrace. Happy? He asked. Very. Think you'd be here if you'd handled things differently back then? No, I said. Honestly. If I'd given Emily another chance, if I'd let Jake explain, if I'd dragged it all out, I'd probably still be untangling that mess, or I'd have stayed with her out of sunk cost fallacy. Either way, I wouldn't have been available when Nicole came along. So no regrets? Not one. He raised his glass. To decisive action and better outcomes. To knowing your worth, I countered. We drank to both. The truth was, I'd made the right choice that morning at the lake house, not because I was cold or harsh or unforgiving, but because I understood something fundamental. You teach people how to treat you. And the moment you accept less than you deserve, you tell them that's all you're worth. I'd refused to accept it. I'd walked away immediately, cleanly, completely. And in doing so, I'd made space for something better. 5 years after sending that group message, sitting on my honeymoon in Greece, Nicole asked me if I ever wondered what would have happened if I'd stayed. Sometimes, I admitted, but only as an intellectual exercise. The same way I might wonder what would have happened if I'd taken a different job or moved to a different city. Curiosity, not regret. And what do you think would have happened? Probably years of mistrust. Maybe she'd have convinced me nothing happened. Maybe I'd have believed it. But I would have always wondered. Every time she was out late, every time Jake's name came up, every time something felt slightly off. That's no way to live. No, Nicole agreed. It's not. So I'm grateful I made the choice I did. I'm grateful I valued myself enough to walk away. She took my hand. Me too. The party ended. She slept with my best friend. She expected silence. I told everyone and cut them both off. And I built a better life than I ever could have had if I'd stayed. That was the real ending. Not bitterness, not anger, not even satisfaction at being proven right. Just peace, and the knowledge that sometimes the best thing you can do is make a clean break and never look back. I'd done exactly that, and I'd never been happier.